Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to explore in depth the Lincoln penny, one of the most iconic, historic, and collectible coins in the entire history of U.S. coinage, and a piece that has fascinated generations of Americans and collectors worldwide for more than a century. First introduced in 1909 during the presidency of Theodore Roosevelt, who was determined to beautify American coinage by replacing outdated designs with more artistic and meaningful imagery, and the Lincoln penny was particularly groundbreaking because it was the first regular-issue United States coin to bear the portrait of an actual historical figure, in this case Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, revered for his leadership during the Civil War and his commitment to abolishing slavery, and the coin was released to commemorate the centennial of Lincoln's birth, with its design entrusted to Victor David Brenner, a Lithuanian-born sculptor whose previous works had caught Roosevelt's eye. Brenner's design placed a striking right-facing bust of Lincoln on the obverse, with the motto "In God We Trust" arched above, the word "Liberty" to the left, and the date to the right, while the reverse featured two stylized wheat stalks encircling the denomination 1 cent and the words "United States of America," with the motto "E Pluribus Unum" at the top. And this original reverse earned the coin the nickname Wheat Penny, which it retained until 1958, when the design was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial reverse to mark Lincoln's 150th birthday, and later, in 2010, by the Union Shield reverse to represent national unity. Yet despite these changes, the Lincoln penny has remained a cornerstone of U.S. coinage and an enduring cultural symbol, and one reason it is so cherished by collectors is the sheer variety of designs, mint marks, errors, and rare issues that exist within the series, making it a lifetime pursuit for those who seek to build complete collections, because from the very beginning, certain Lincoln pennies were produced in limited numbers and quickly became legendary rarities, such as the famous 1909 SVDB, which was struck in San Francisco with Brenner's initials boldly displayed at the bottom of the reverse, a feature that was controversial at the time because critics thought the initials were too prominent, leading to their removal from subsequent issues, and because only 484,000 of the 1909 SVDB pennies were struck before the change. This coin instantly became a key rarity, now worth thousands of dollars in even circulated condition and tens of thousands or more in higher grades. Another legendary rarity is the 1914 D penny, struck at the Denver Mint with a relatively low mintage of about 1.2 million, making it very scarce in well-preserved condition, while the 1922 No D penny is one of the most famous mint-era coins in U.S. history, because during that year Lincoln cents were only struck in Denver, but weak dies resulted in many coins lacking a visible D mint mark, and the variety where the D is completely missing is extremely rare and highly prized, fetching thousands of dollars at auction, especially in higher grades. Then there is the legendary 1955 double die obverse penny, one of the most recognizable and dramatic era coins ever produced, with its date and inscriptions like "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," showing strong and clear doubling visible to the naked eye, and because thousands entered circulation before the era was caught, lucky collectors who find one can see values ranging from a few $1,000s in worn condition to tens of thousands in mint state grades, and this coin remains a holy grail for era enthusiasts. Yet perhaps no Lincoln penny has achieved more fame than the accidental 1943 copper penny, struck when the U.S. Mint transitioned from bronze to zinc-coated steel planchets during World War II to conserve copper for the war effort, but a few left over. Copper planchets from 1942 were mistakenly used in 1943, creating an error so rare that only a handful exist today, with examples selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars and in some cases over 1 million at major auctions, making it one of the most valuable U.S. coins of all time, and its counterpart, the 1944 steel penny, created when some steel planchets from 1943 remained in the presses, is also an extraordinary rarity worth huge sums, adding even more intrigue to the Lincoln penny series. And these stunning stories of coins worth more than a house or even a lifetime of savings emerging from what was once a simple 1-cent coin illustrate why the Lincoln penny has captivated generations of treasure hunters, who check their pocket change or inherited jars of coins in the hopes of uncovering a fortune, because beyond these headline rarities, the Lincoln penny series is full of semi-key dates, lower mintage issues, transitional varieties, doubled dies, repunched mint marks, die cracks, off-metal strikes, clipped planchets, and many other varieties that make it endlessly collectible. And when you trace its history decade by decade, you see how it reflects not just numismatic artistry but also the economic and political story of America, because in 1943 during World War II, the shift to steel cents was not just a minting oddity but a wartime necessity, while in 1959, the Lincoln Memorial reverse was introduced to honor the sesquicentennial of Lincoln's birth, designed by Frank Gasparo, and remained in place for 50 years, and then in 2009, for special reverse designs were struck to celebrate the bicentennial of Lincoln's birth and the 100th anniversary of the Lincoln cent, depicting stages of his life from his Kentucky log cabin beginnings, to his formative years in Indiana, to his professional life in Illinois, and finally to his presidency in Washington, D.C., after which the Union Shield design was introduced in 2010 to symbolize national unity. After the Civil War, and these modern issues too have their own errors and varieties, such as double dies and off-center strikes, which can be worth significant sums, so the Lincoln penny is not just a coin but a vast landscape of history, design evolution, and collector intrigue, and this is why it is often the very first coin that beginner collectors turn to, because it is so accessible in circulation, yet also so full of hidden rarities that even experts remain engaged for decades, and when you look at auction records, you can see just how high values can soar, such as the 1909 SVDB selling for tens of thousands in mint state, the 1914 D in top grades crossing $50,000, the 1922 No D variety fetching similar sums, the 1955 double die obverse consistently selling for $10,000 to $50,000 depending on condition, and of course the 1943 copper penny crossing the $1 million mark, while the 1944 steel cent also sells for hundreds of thousands, and these sales demonstrate not only the monetary value but also the cultural fascination with the Lincoln penny, which continues to this day, making it one of the most dynamic and rewarding series in U.S. numismatics, and as we explore it further, you will see how each era of the penny's history tells a story not just about coins but about America itself, its challenges, its triumphs, and its enduring symbols, all captured in a small copper or steel disc that we call the Lincoln penny. In continuing our deep dive into the Lincoln penny, let us go even further into the layers of history, varieties, and the collector demand that have made this 1-cent coin such an enduring centerpiece of American numismatics. Because while in Part 1 we explored its origins in 1909, Victor David Brenner's design, the evolution of its reverse types, and the legendary rarities like the 1909 SVDB, the 1914 D, the 1922 No D, the 1955 double die, the wartime 1943 copper penny, and the transitional 1944 steel penny, in this part we will go beyond the well-known highlights to uncover the broader context of why the Lincoln cent is so iconic, how its value has grown across decades, and how collectors and historians alike interpret its role in both American coinage and culture, because the Lincoln penny is not simply a piece of metal but a reflection of American identity. And when it was first released in 1909, it marked a departure from the classical allegorical designs of liberty heads and symbolic figures that had dominated U.S. coinage, and for the first time the United States Mint presented an actual person, a president, and one of the most beloved and respected leaders in American history, Abraham Lincoln, whose portrait immediately resonated with the public. And this sense of familiarity is one reason why the penny became so enduring, because people could see the face of Lincoln in their daily transactions, linking the coin to the nation's values of unity, freedom, and sacrifice, and as the decades rolled on, the coin's design remained remarkably stable, with Lincoln's bust staying on the obverse for over a century, while only the reverse changed across 3 major eras, from the wheat reverse of 1909 to 1958, to the Lincoln Memorial reverse from 1959 to 2008, to the Shield reverse from 2010 to the present, and within these spans, countless minor varieties, mint marks, and errors occurred, giving collectors an endless field of study, and if you consider the wheat penny era, nearly every year carries its own story, with early years like 1909 to 1919 being struck in bronze composed of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, a metallic composition that continued until World War II, when in 1943 the mint shifted to steel, before resuming bronze in 1944. And then shifting slightly in 1962 to a composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc, before finally changing to copper-plated zinc in 1982, and these shifts in metal content not only reflected economic and wartime demands, but also created opportunities for transitional errors whenever planchets from one year were mistakenly used in another, resulting in incredible rarities like the 1943 copper penny and 1944 steel penny, and even the 1982 transitional varieties where both bronze and zinc cents were produced in the same year, with different weights and subtle die varieties, giving collectors another rich field of pursuit. And if you look at the Lincoln Memorial cent era, beginning in 1959, it also carried important cultural symbolism, because Frank Gasparo's design placed the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, and in a remarkable artistic touch, Lincoln's statue inside the memorial is actually visible if you look closely, making this coin unique for depicting the same individual on both obverse and reverse, a rarity in world coinage, and across this 50-year span. The memorial reverse coins introduced generations of collectors to the Lincoln series, and within it came their own double die Varieties, like the famous 1969's double die obverse, one of the most dramatic double dies in all U.S. coinage, showing strong doubling in Liberty and In God We Trust. So strong that many thought it was fake when first discovered, yet genuine examples now sell for tens of thousands of dollars. While other double die cents like the 1972 double die and 1995 double die also became collector favorites, each worth hundreds or thousands depending on grade, and then the bicentennial. Celebrations of 2009 introduced 4 special reverses honoring Lincoln's life, which were minted in both copper and zinc versions, and while they are modern and plentiful, certain varieties and errors are already commanding premiums, showing how even new Lincoln cents can offer surprises. And then in 2010 the Union Shield reverse was adopted, designed by Lyndall Bass, symbolizing Lincoln's role in preserving the Union, and this design continues today, closing a loop of over a century of Lincoln's portrait on the penny, making it the longest-running coin design in U.S. history. And what truly drives the excitement around Lincoln pennies are the auction records, because while common dates can be found in pocket change, the rare varieties reach astronomical sums, such as the 1943 copper penny selling for $1.7 million in a private sale, the 1944 steel sent crossing into the hundreds of thousands, the 1955 double die obverse commanding tens of thousands, and the 1909 SVDB, consistently breaking records depending on grade, and even mid-century double dies like the 1969 S have crossed 6 figures at major auctions. So when you think about it, a coin that originally had a face value of just 1 cent has the potential to sell for more than a luxury car, a house, or even a lifetime's wages, and that is precisely why the Lincoln penny inspires such widespread fascination. Because anyone could potentially find one, and every collector dreams of uncovering a rare cent. In an old jar or inherited collection, and beyond the monetary value, the Lincoln penny has played a role in the cultural life of America, being the subject of art, education, debates over whether the penny should continue to exist given its low purchasing power, and even nostalgia, since millions of people remember filling penny boards as children or saving wheat pennies from circulation, and all of these layers. Its design, its symbolism, its endless varieties, its auction values, its accessibility, combine to make the Lincoln penny the most collected coin in America, and perhaps in the world, because there are literally millions of people who have tried at some point to build a set of Lincoln cents, whether casually or seriously, and those who pursue a complete collection soon discover how challenging it is, because completing it requires not only common dates but also the elusive 1909 SVDB, the 1914 D, the 1922 No D, and often the budget-busting 1955 double die or wartime rarities, and for those who can afford it, the challenge extends to condition rarity, because high-grade certified Lincoln cents, especially in MS-67 or higher, are extremely rare for early dates and can sell for astonishing amounts, making registry set competition fierce. And when you step back, you realize that the Lincoln penny is not just a 1-cent coin but a vast storybook of American history, art, economy, war, and culture, all packed into a tiny copper disc that has circulated by the billions, and yet within those billions are hidden treasures, some worth thousands, some worth millions, waiting to be discovered, which is why collectors will never stop searching, studying, and celebrating the Lincoln penny, a coin that has outlasted wars, economic crises, cultural changes, and more than a century of history, and one that continues to inspire excitement in both the casual finder and the seasoned numismatist alike. And with all these details, auction records, varieties, and stories, it is no exaggeration to say that the Lincoln penny is the single most important collectible coin in American history, and perhaps in the entire world of numismatics. Thanks for watching.